Every successful entrepreneur starts somewhere, but few begin with a $200,000 loan from their father and transform it into a global name recognized in every major city. We are talking about Donald J. Trump, a figure whose business life has been a relentless cycle of audacious gambles, spectacular successes, and near-catastrophic financial failures. Forget the politics. Forget the noise. Today, we're doing a deep dive, fact-based forensic analysis of the Trump empire. How did a developer, known initially for middle-class housing in Queens, successfully invade the elite skyscraper market of Manhattan? What were the specific, often brutal negotiation tactics he deployed to secure those first monumental deals that redefined the New York skyline? We are not offering opinions. We are meticulously breaking down the business blueprint, from the Swifton village flip to the Taj Mahal debt crisis. If you want to understand the true power of aggressive financing, relentless negotiation, and personal branding, this video is your masterclass. Stay tuned to uncover the untold business secrets of the Trump empire. And hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss any of these game-changing insights. The foundation of Donald Trump's business was laid not in Manhattan skyscrapers, but in the post-war suburban development of Queens and Brooklyn. Donald, born in 1946, inherited an interest in real estate from his father, Fred Trump, who specialized in building and operating large rental complexes for the middle class, often leveraging Federal Housing Administration, FHA, loan guarantees. Fred Trump's company, Elizabeth Trump & Son, was focused on volume and government-backed stability, a strategy that heavily contrasted with the high-risk luxury market his son would later dominate. In 1968, Donald graduated from the Wharton School of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania, having earned a bachelor's degree in economics. This education provided him with a formal understanding of complex financial instruments and strategies for utilizing leveraged capital. Upon officially joining the family business, Donald immediately expressed an ambition to operate in Manhattan, viewing the outer boroughs as too geographically and commercially limited for his vision. His very first venture outside the traditional New York City footprint was a successful, though small-scale, test of his capabilities. The 1972 revitalization of Swifton Village in Cincinnati, Ohio. The 1,200-unit apartment complex was purchased by the Trump family for just $5.7 million, with Donald receiving a $600,000 management fee. Donald personally oversaw the extensive renovation, utilized aggressive marketing to raise the occupancy rate to a maximum of 100%, and sold the complex 3 years later for $12 million, demonstrating an early aptitude for maximizing asset value through efficient operations and prompt exit strategies. The true pivot to high-stakes urban development began in 1974, when he set his sights on the derelict Commodore Hotel, a property next to Grand Central Terminal, in a then unsafe and economically depressed area of Midtown East. The hotel was a non-performing asset situated on land owned by the bankrupt Penn Central Transportation Company. His proposal was remarkably audacious. He offered to transform the tired 1,400-room property into a modern luxury hotel, a colossal risk given the surrounding economic environment and the monumental scope of the required renovation. To secure financing for this high-risk endeavor, Trump deployed his first major negotiation masterstroke. He secured a 40-year property tax abatement from New York City for the entire project. He utilized the city's 421A program designed to incentivize new development, successfully arguing that without this enormous government subsidy, which by some estimates saved millions of dollars. The reconstruction would simply not happen. This tax abatement was considered unprecedented for such a commercial project on that scale in Manhattan at the time. Additionally, he made a crucial strategic move by securing a 50-50 partnership with the influential Pritzker family, the owners of the Hyatt chain. This partnership was essential, as it provided not only critical equity financing, but also the reputational stability and established brand credibility that the young Donald Trump lacked on a national scale. A Grand Hyatt Hotel opened in 1978, completely reclad in reflective glass, dramatically replacing the original dark stone facade. It served as his highly visible entry point into the upper echelons of Manhattan's real estate community. Leveraging this hard-won momentum, Trump initiated his first self-branded flagship project, Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue, designed to embody his personal vision of luxury. The property was situated at the former site of the renowned Bonwit Teller department store, necessitating complex and controversial negotiations with existing leaseholders and the City Planning Commission. The tower, which was completed in 1983, was envisioned as a 68-story, mixed-use monolith. It masterfully integrated 6 floors of high-end retail space, 13 floors of prime office real estate, and 39 floors dedicated to ultra-luxury residential condominiums. The key financial innovation here was the condominium model combined with aggressive pre-sales. By selling individual residential units directly to buyers, he monetized the asset rapidly. He systematically demanded substantial, non-refundable deposits from buyers in the early stages of construction. This allowed him to effectively use purchasers' money to finance the later phases, thereby sharply reducing his need for high-interest bank debt. His core financial strategy was straightforward: charge an absolute premium based on the exclusivity and the power of the Trump name. The Trump brand was actively positioned as a potent symbol of status and over-the-top extravagance. For instance, the top-floor penthouse was initially marketed for record-breaking sums, setting a new price benchmark for Manhattan residential pricing. By the mid-1980s, through the Grand Hyatt and the success of Trump Tower, Donald Trump had decisively transformed his family's business model to high-risk, high-reward, luxury urban development, all underpinned by aggressive leveraged financing, headline-making negotiation tactics, and unparalleled public self-promotion. After solidifying his position in Manhattan, Donald Trump aggressively turned his focus to Atlantic City, New Jersey, the only location on the East Coast where legal gambling was permitted. Trump saw a unique opportunity in this market. He wasn't just building real estate, he was buying a share in an intense flow of regulated cash revenue. His philosophy dictated that it was always better to invest large sums in highly visible, prestigious properties to establish market dominance through the sheer power of his brand. His first property was the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino, which opened in 1984. This project began as a joint venture with Harrah's, a subsidiary of Hilton Hotels. The initial agreement stipulated that Trump would manage construction and branding, while Harrah's provided operational expertise in the casino industry. However, due to strategic and visionary disagreements, Trump favored more luxury. Harrah's preferred mass appeal. Trump bought out Harrah's stake in 1986 for $240 million, taking sole control. This buyout marked his first major step toward full financial autonomy and complete branding, but it significantly increased his debt burden. In 1985, he made a second move, acquiring an unfinished property and converting it into the Trump's Castle Casino Resort, later known as Trump Marina. This property, situated further away from the main boardwalk strip, was key to quickly increasing his market share, but it demanded substantial investment to attract customers to its less advantageous location. Trump systematically used a strategy of extremely high leverage to fund these projects, aggressively borrowing capital at high interest rates. The largest, most audacious, and ultimately most catastrophic project he undertook was the Trump Taj Mahal Casino Resort. After acquiring the unfinished property in 1988 from Resorts International, Trump committed to transforming it into what he publicly dubbed the eighth wonder of the world, emphasizing Indian-themed luxury. The construction and completion of the Taj Mahal cost over $1 billion, making it the world's most expensive casino at its opening in April 1990. The critical financial error lay in the debt structure, which proved inherently unsustainable from day one. The vast majority of the financing, approximately $675 million, was secured through the sale of high-yield junk bonds. These bonds, sold to investors, promised unusually high returns due to the low credit rating, which meant a prohibitively high interest rate. The massive cost of servicing this debt, which totaled about $1 million per day solely in interest payments, required unrealistically high daily revenues, $365 million annually just to cover interest. This financial structure became critically vulnerable due to two operational factors: market competition and necessary occupancy. First, the Taj Mahal failed to generate the required daily cash flow because Atlantic City was simply not a large enough market to sustain 4 Trump mega casinos simultaneously. Second, the operational overhead, salaries, utilities, taxes, was extremely high, leaving too little margin to cover the millions in daily interest payments. In 1989, parallel to his casino expansion, Trump also aggressively entered the airline market, purchasing the Trump Shuttle from Eastern Airlines for $365 million. This venture targeted wealthy business clientele on the lucrative routes between New York, Boston, and Washington. He invested heavily in gold-plated bathroom fixtures and branded amenities, attempting to position the airline as an ultra-luxury carrier. However, the company immediately faced sharply rising fuel prices and brutal price competition from established carriers like Pan Am Shuttle. The Trump Shuttle operated for only 3 years, folding by 1992 after incurring significant losses, which further compounded his personal debt. By 1990, the cumulative corporate and personal debt, estimated to be over $3 billion, became unmanageable, especially amidst a nationwide economic recession. The Taj Mahal survived barely a year before filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 1991, having missed a crucial interest payment. This was the first of 4 bankruptcy filings specifically tied to his Atlantic City casinos throughout the 90s and 2000s. The ensuing crisis necessitated immediate debt restructuring with his primary creditors, major banks such as Citibank and Bankers Trust, who themselves faced massive write-downs. The negotiation tactic: Trump employed his massive public profile and the sheer scale of his debt as leverage, adhering to a too-big-to-fail strategy. He aggressively argued that the total collapse of his empire would inflict greater damage on the financial institutions than accepting a compromise, forcing the banks to the negotiating table. Following adversarial and protracted negotiations, the banks ultimately agreed to a twofold compromise. They reduced the interest rates on the loans and deferred principal repayments. In exchange for these concessions, creditors received substantial equity stakes in his projects, including the Plaza Hotel and the Atlantic City casinos, which severely diluted his personal ownership. For instance, as part of the Taj Mahal restructuring, bondholders agreed to reduce their debt burden by approximately $400 million. Trump temporarily relinquished 50% of his equity in the casino to bondholders, although he retained an operational management role. He was also forced to execute a series of asset sales to settle massive personal debts, including his 282-foot yacht, Trump Princess, and the Trump Shuttle airline. Despite losing controlling interests in many ventures and transferring assets to creditors, Trump successfully managed to retain operational control over the Trump Organization. He masterfully used the provisions of Chapter 11 bankruptcy, not for liquidation, but for reorganization, debt reduction, and the survival of his business. This period vividly demonstrated his ability to play poker with institutional creditors, using the colossal risk of default as his ultimate leverage. And he emerged from the crisis, financially weakened, but having preserved his most valuable asset, the Trump brand. Following the casino bankruptcies and asset sales of the 1990s, Donald Trump executed a pivotal shift in his business model. He realized that his single most valuable unencumbered asset was not bricks and mortar, but his own name, the Trump brand. The key strategic pivot was brand licensing, a low-risk strategy, allowing him to generate significant revenue with minimal capital outlay and financial exposure. Instead of securing multi-billion-dollar loans for construction, he began selling the right to other developers to use the Trump name on their projects. For these rights, he earned substantial royalties from property sales or management fees for hotel operations. This strategy transformed him into a service businessman with a fundamentally lower risk profile, starkly contrasting with his aggressive, debt-heavy methods of the 1980s. One of the earliest and most crucial examples was the Trump Place residential complex. Construction began in the mid-90s on the Hudson River in New York. Trump merely licensed his name to the developer, Hudson Waterfront Company, collecting millions in fees without assuming responsibility for the financing or construction liabilities. This highly profitable, capital-light model was replicated globally for properties like the Trump International Hotel and Tower in cities such as Toronto, Panama, and Istanbul. This allowed the Trump brand to globalize rapidly without requiring billions of dollars of direct investment from his own organization. Concurrently, Trump began aggressively ramping up his presence in the entertainment and media industries. In 1996, he acquired the Miss Universe organization, which controlled the Miss Universe, Miss USA, and Miss Teen USA pageants. These pageants served as an ideal media platform, securing him annual access to national television. He personally took an active, on-screen role in the broadcasts, enhancing his image as a worldly, influential figure. Another foundational element was the wide dissemination of his book, The Art of the Deal, initially published in 1987. The book, co-authored with Tony Schwartz, sold millions of copies and became the definitive manifesto of his business style. It popularized him as a master negotiator who was willing to leverage conflict and media attention to achieve his objectives. The book, in essence, served as a high-yielding multi-decade promotional tool for the Trump brand, constantly reinforcing his mythology. However, the largest single catalyst for both his financial recovery and his public brand was the reality television show, The Apprentice. The show, launched on NBC in January 2004, became an instant and unexpected hit. Trump played the role of a stern corporate executive, evaluating the skills of contestants competing for a job within the Trump Organization with an annual salary of $250,000. His signature catchphrase, "You're fired," became an enduring piece of American popular culture. At its peak popularity, Trump was reportedly earning up to $3 million per episode, securing his place as one of the highest-paid television personalities. This income stream was consistent, stable, and entirely decoupled from the cyclical downturns of the real estate market. The economic impact of The Apprentice went far beyond direct salary. It cemented Trump as a globally recognizable media star. This dramatically increased the intrinsic value of the Trump licensed brand, enabling him to demand even higher royalties for the use of his name on buildings. During this period, he also heavily invested in golf resorts, which became another symbol of luxury branding. He acquired prominent properties, such as Trump National Golf Club Bedminster, New Jersey, and significant holdings in Scotland, Trump International Golf Links, and Ireland. The investment in golf assets was another form of luxury branding, as golf is globally associated with high status and elite clientele. Overall, the 2000s saw Trump transition from the owner-risk-taker model to the brander-licenser model. He masterfully used his media platform, books, pageants, reality TV, to inflate his brand's value, then monetize that value through low-risk, high-return real estate licensing agreements. This strategy allowed him not only to stage a spectacular recovery from bankruptcy, but also to create a more resilient and diversified financial empire driven by his personal image. Following his successful media-driven recovery, the Trump business empire entered a new phase of expansion in the 2000s, this time focusing on globalization and further diversification. His strategy was clear: to monetize the brand recognition forged by The Apprentice across the world. One of the largest projects of that period was the construction of the Trump International Hotel and Tower in Chicago, completed in 2008. This was the second tallest residential building in the U.S. at the time, but even this project faced severe financial strain during the 2008 global financial crisis. Trump once again deployed his aggressive negotiation tactic, filing a lawsuit against Deutsche Bank for $3 billion, claiming the crisis constituted a force majeure event that should excuse his obligations. Ultimately, he negotiated favorable terms for a $640 million loan restructuring, demonstrating that his willingness to sue his creditors remained a core element of his strategy. International expansion primarily occurred through licensing agreements with local developers. Projects like Trump Towers Istanbul, Turkey, the Trump Ocean Club in Panama City, and developments in India allowed him to receive millions of dollars in upfront licensing fees and royalties without committing his own capital. This model solidified his status as a global brand consultant who profits from others' risk rather than a traditional capital-intensive developer. A key investment focus during this period was the golf business, which Trump viewed as the ideal asset for elite branding. He acquired and renovated a series of high-end courses, including Trump National Doral Miami, acquired in 2012. and prominent properties in Scotland and Ireland. Every golf club under his control underwent significant renovation and branding, transforming them into prestigious resorts capable of hosting major tournaments and enhancing global brand visibility. However, this period was also marked by a rising tide of controversies regarding his business practices. Particularly prominent were the lawsuits related to Trump University, a real estate education program that operated from 2005 to 2010. Students filed class action lawsuits alleging that the program, which charged fees up to $35,000 for seminars, was misleading. In 2016, Trump agreed to settle these lawsuits, paying $25 million in compensation without admitting guilt, effectively neutralizing the long-term legal and reputational risk. This case underscored his willingness to use litigation and settlement agreements as critical tools for managing both business risk and public reputation. Ultimately, Donald Trump's commercial career is a unique tapestry. He proved that in the modern economy, a personal brand, amplified by media, can be a more valuable asset than any specific real estate holding. His business narrative is built upon three contradictory pillars that defined his financial life. The first pillar is deal mastery, a ruthless ability to strike favorable partnerships, extract tax breaks, and utilize lawsuits as leverage. The second is aggressive financing, a constant willingness to take on massive debt using junk bonds for projects like the Taj Mahal, and his unique creditor negotiation tactics. The third and perhaps most vital is brand monetization, transforming his own name into an immensely profitable, low-risk asset through licensing and media platforms. His is a story of an entrepreneur who was unafraid to risk billions of dollars and, crucially, always maintained control of his image and brand, regardless of the financial firestorms. This singular approach to risk, debt, and personal branding is what makes the saga of the Trump empire one of the most compelling and unique in American business history. If you were captivated by this deep dive into high-stakes finance and deal-making, and you want more analysis like this, smash that like button now. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next business breakdown.